Well, sit yourself down, girl, and talk to me. Tell me what's on your mind. Don't keep on telling me everything's okay. 'Cause if it was, then you wouldn't be crying. You've been tossing and turning in your sleep lately. Sitting around out all day long. Now how in the hell you expect me to understand when I don't even know what's wrong? Let's straighten it out. Let's straighten it out. Let's straighten it out. Baby, let's straighten it out. For the last 5 nights, honey, when we went to bed, oh, I could tell something just wasn't right. When you turned your back to me and you covered your head, but you didn't even say goodnight. If you're tired, you don't want to be bothered, baby, just say the word and I'll leave you alone. Instead of laying out crying, your eyes out, baby, you and me ought to be getting it on. Let's straighten it out. Let's straighten it out. Let's straighten it out. Let's straighten it out. Oh, let's straighten it out. Baby, let's straighten it out. Why don't you talk to me, honey? Straighten it out. Baby, let's straighten it out. How the hell you expect me to understand? Oh, don't even know what's wrong. Baby, let's straighten it out. I believe we're gonna straighten it out. How's it going, everybody? It's Man Tomorrow here. Here to one in the chat if you can be able to hear me. All right, don't hear me. Okay. So since we all here, let's talk about the history of the manosphere. Make sure y'all hit the like button while I'm coming in. All right. So you guys have to realize that the history of the manosphere was a cleanup man construct from the very first beginning. After 1.0, Manosphere 1.0 had several people in it who had solutions from Give Them Nothing, Wall of Silence, all those other things. And this is not really a Manosphere 1.0, 2.0 thing. It is a productive man thing versus a unproductive man thing. That's the problem here. That's the problem that nobody really ever got, is who was going to be representing the manosphere, or what kind of people was representing the manosphere going forward. Because at some point you got to take some type of action. Like right now, the manosphere is in a place to where if you watch Wheel of Fortune, there's no more continents to be rolled for. There is no vows that you can no longer buy. The answer is right in front of your face. The answer isn't right in front of your face. I never thought that the answer to our problems was ever women getting their stuff correct. That was never the answer to men's issues. Men's issues in society beyond high school are not a woman's respect and opinion as long as we don't bring anything to the table. Like submission and all that kind of stuff, none of that stuff means anything if you don't have your stuff together. If you don't have your stuff together as a man, if you're not productive as a dude, if you're not self-improving to a point to where the person who actually hates productivity within the environment itself, if you're not trying to become better than the last generation, then you're not really producing at all. There was the Black Brain Trust. If you look right now, there's 47 people, 49 people watching right now. Unless you was talking about an unsolved cultural issue, this was the maximum amount of men who wanted change within the environment. I'm talking about men and women alike. So you can't say that having the Black Brain Trust around was going to make most of these men be more productive. Again, the answer is right in front of your face. Let's rewind the clocks back until I didn't have a channel 3 years ago. There was an argument on BGS Edmore's panel about how I would never hire dudes who were on child support. This is 3 years ago about problems that I didn't want. within my organization because I know what happens with the dudes with child support. Child support dudes, the women pull their whole card immediately. They say in the fact that you make a lot of money, and then they tell you to quit your job or you ain't getting no ass anymore. And you know what happens? They leave. So once you go through that 20 or 30 times, different places within the actual country, you start to know that you don't hire those people. I'm making my point complex. That's not what that was specifically about. But you have to understand that if you're never going to put yourself in a better position as a man, because as a man, your job is not waiting on women to get their stuff straight. Your job as a man is to get out there and produce for the particular family that you want. The second part of your job is to go to an environment that's already set up to receive what you're already producing. Now, I had no idea that I was doing the right thing, but the path that I chose put me in different environments itself. It put me around different groups of people, both men and women. That's when I started to see that I was on the right path. I was doing the right thing. There were already people prepared for me. The only thing I had to do was leave the starting block to get it. Because all those live streams from the Black Brain Trust channel, which is not hidden, all the weekend live streams about how you can get into tech, all those live streams still have the same basic information in them about the websites you can go to, because they're still the same. It really isn't that many. All the places, all the things you could be in contact with, like, dude, the history is there. But if you're never going to read the history about a space that you want to be a part of, how could you possibly think that you're going to be able to make it and go forward? I understand the woman's side of the actual picture. I do. I'm right home in Mississippi right now. All the women are still on the market that men would actually kill for 20 years ago. But not only are they on the market, their daughters are on the market too, going after would-be suckers within an environment. And now the suckers has to come from out of town. The suckers are not coming from within the city. The suckers are come from out of town to take them seriously. So you have to understand that the productivity piece is something that's been denied because people wanted to think that I want my story out there about how I was screwed over by XYZ circumstance. But dude, at some point, you have to take responsibility about what you got into in the first place. If you always wanted to put the respect for women's first, which is what this is about, if you had your stuff together in the first place, you wouldn't want people with the track record who've done nothing but taken away from other men. That's what the whole productivity piece was about. It wasn't about people coming on YouTube and putting on child support uniforms to troll broken black men. That's what it was about from the first beginning. This is why the productive and the most successful black men outside of a woman's opinion or not involved with relationships, that's why they're not around here. This was never going to be a mainstream thing. This was an underground conversation. You know how you have mainstream music, and then you understand that the people in the underground scene of music in the same genre have way better music than the people who are on the actual mainstream, the underground. This is the opposite of that. No group of people came to this country to talk about the type of counterparts that they were forced to be with. All this stuff is choices. So you have to understand 3 years ago, before I had a channel, there was nobody like me within the manosphere at all. When it came to a dude who actually did have his stuff together, who actually did own the business, who actually did not give a damn about the counterpart's opinion, and who didn't give a damn about trying to team up with people who are actually traitors to us back in the day. These people came to the manosphere to tell you about how you wasn't even a man unless you had the counterpart's respect. That's what that was. 3 years ago, this place became, there was intellectual conversations here and there. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to throw the whole place in the butt. But at the end of the day, most of this stuff became a safe haven for Bravo Alpha Novembers. It became a safe haven for personnel who were proud to be unproductive, but also proud to be chosen by those same people that they are complaining about. Remember, the winners of the conversation, the winners of the gynocratic lottery, who sold out every other man within the environment behind the behest of acting like the highest thing you can possibly be within Black America is be chose by the counterpart to give them a seed so that way they can destroy that seed. Look around right now. The Black Manosphere gave rise to femininity consultants. The Black Manosphere did that. The Black Manosphere helped the Pick Me movement. Women who, quote unquote, cared about Black men's issues, but they couldn't show you the track record of the men who they dated. The Black Manosphere made that possible. The Black Manosphere turned anybody's idea into a wait and see movement. So the actual level of productivity went from skills and abilities and your actual level among those skills and abilities to being felt and heard by broken men. Because when you do not have in society an environment that does not function properly, there's going to be non-traditional men that's going to rise up to the level to be the actual voice of the people within the actual movement itself. Just like in the 70s, how most well-spoken people without productivity or answers was able to gain control of the so-called, what do you call it? I guess you can call it the Black Power movement when it should have been a civil rights movement all the way. You know how most of those people who didn't have any business being there was able to speak on behalf of the movement? We have the same thing now. The same exact thing now. Where people think that hearing about unfeminine women that you should leave alone is the top of the foremost thing here that we should be worried about. From men who are not productive themselves. You don't see anybody running any type of industry trying to get in contact with any of these quote unquote content creators. The reason why you became productive in the first place is so that way these people could not have power over your life. Thank you for the $10 super sticker said as well. That's why you got your stuff together. That's what the productivity piece was about. The productivity piece was about getting your stuff together to the point to where they wouldn't want you because you wouldn't be easily controlled. Swallowing to go. But see, most of these people wanted to be easily controlled by those women because that standard of masculinity was very easy. Remember, they want to 2/3 kill everybody within the black community because we wouldn't date single mothers, while they bragged in front of our faces that they were the chosen one to destroy the entire environment of the place that they care about all of a sudden. You have a lot of these unproductive dudes who went down for selling abject poison to people within the community, maybe from the 60s, definitely from the 80s and 90s, trying to tell us, that how we should bow down to their favor. That's how they came here in the first place. They came here to destroy any type of progress for men, period. When the only thing you needed to do was get your stuff together to the point to where she wouldn't want you. But see, they stopped just shy of getting their productivity together so that way they could stay having her to be the preeminence of why they did everything that they did. And they want to hide behind the numbers that they get, the success, restricted success that they get within this environment as a verifiable source of productivity. There is no culture on the planet who talks about broken women to the point that we talk about as a means of productivity. Like I said, right now I'm in the South. You see 2 generations of women on the market looking for sucker ass dudes to take this bad deal. And there's only one group of people who's willing to take them. It's not all men like it was before. It's only the broken men who was raised within broken environments. So my message is going to the wrong people. My message needs to go to the youth. So that way, because right now you have 3 different generations of arrested development acting the same within the environment right now. You have boomers, Generation X, my generation, and millennials acting like they don't know what the problem is within society. 3 different generations of men acting all the same way. Three different generations of men who haven't picked a side. 3 different generations of men who don't know the history of the country that they're in. 3 different generations of men who cover everything when it comes down to a counterpart saying something incredibly crazy about what they would want for the men that they don't respect, but nobody really covering what's actually happening in the news because they wanted to turn it. They want to turn the conversation from productivity to submission. Women don't have a reason to submit if they're already protected by a higher system. That's very simple. Women are never going to need any type of protection. Like most of this live stream is actually based on the truth as I know it. He had a live stream called Man Tomorrow versus BGS Edmore and Edward Anderson. And I don't have a problem with truth as I know it. However, if MOT is so problematic, then why don't you make a live stream called Why MOT is so problematic? Because I'm telling you right now, I don't want any part of this fake ass black masculinity shit to exist in any way, shape, or form. You can't exist anymore. You've already had your chance. You've already gave them everything that they wanted. You gave them control of the community. I don't want to hear any more of this fake ass pro-black shit. I don't want to hear it. If you don't realize that you create the black family with your black penis, then I don't know what to say to you. This isn't a criticism of his, but it's just like, okay, if I'm so problematic, then how come ain't nobody really responding to the live streams? How come ain't nobody really telling me how problematic I am? How come ain't nobody debunking the streams? You're damn right. I don't want to see most of these dudes win. I don't want to see you exist. I don't want to see you survive any longer. I think your stay have been far longer than it should have been. This is why I'm talking to different groups of people when they come here. They already know how much trouble you can cause to a natural environment once you give unproductive men the ability to reproduce. You give unproductive men the ability to reproduce, you have the same damn system we have right now. You know what these immigrants do? They kick the unproductive people out of society and they end up in the black community. That's the deal. No one is going to end up like this. We're the test case. We're the results of the test case. You're not going to be able to survive within the society without participating in it. It would be different if you had a success case with these women. It would be very different if you did. No one has a success case. Now all of a sudden they care about black boys now. We create schools based on black male victimhood. And people are celebrating it. Creating schools based off black male victimhood is not going to make black men or no man be productive. Don't believe me? Look at the right-wing AM talk radio people. You have Michael Savage right now, right after the actual Arizona audit, still talking about how Trump election was stolen from him. And you have people putting them on national TV talking about this stuff. That is correct. Our productive people do not become part of the lottery system when it comes to getting out of their country. That is very correct. But that's what's happening here. There are people who are so willing to engage in this nonsense because they cannot have the actual environment go forward. Why do you think that they want to have all these conversations on helmet panels? Because the conversation and the level of participation don't take that much to be a part of a helmet panel. So there is no ominous white guy doing this stuff. This is black. Every time you tell yourself that you can't do anything else in the universe unless a woman get her shit right, dude, you're done as a dude. Of course, everybody is supposed to lap us if we're not trying to get our stuff together outside of a woman's respect or opinion. There is not a society on the planet where you as a man can go in the public square and bragging about selling out every other man in society. This is the only broken environment that allows that. This is the thing. If we created, because it's the multiplier effect, if we multiplied the level of idiots who want to speak for men's broken problems, how is that going to make our position any better? I don't know. Name a person. Imagine if you multiplied that many type of unproductive people who are not known for any type of career field of choice, and the only thing that brought them to prominence was the actual opinion of a woman that don't nobody want. Especially if when men come here, they get the best of the actual women and they already know how to act toward other people. They just don't know how to act towards you. So you have to understand that the Black Manosphere since 2.0, and specifically 2.0, was about making sure that you took no action and hiding behind super chat money and AdSense dollars as the reason why they're all of a sudden successful within society and life. When any businessman with any type of sense would stop doing business with these people at some certain point. How many live streams about women being non-submissive that you're going to have before you actually understand that you need to move on to some different group of people after you get your shit together? Because the women are not supposed to be submissive toward a man who ain't got his shit together. A woman is going to be cooperative with a man who ain't got his shit together. The reason why she's going to be cooperative with a man who ain't got his shit together is because she controlled the entire relationship with sexual access, regardless of how she looks. Because that's the cultural track record here. The cultural track record is they don't have to bring nothing and they get everything. If they can't get it from you, they get it from the government after they're done with you. The history of the Manosphere was cleanup man shit. That's what the history was. I joined the Manosphere to tell a different story about where men could actually be through action, through taking a side, through having these live streams lead to somewhere. That's what that's about. It's all right. But that's where we're at. We got a bunch of people who want to hang out, who don't want to take any meaningful type action, but expect results of those actions. Think about it. What's going on, DC? No group of people who just came to America wants to team up with a group of losers. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to team up with a group of losers. If you just found out about the NFL, the last thing you want to do is end up on the Cleveland Browns or end up being a quarterback for the Washington racial slurs. You wouldn't want to be on teams that don't have a track record of going anywhere. That's why people are Cowboys fans and actual Patriots fans when they don't even live in the area where these people are located. Why? They want to be associated with a winning team. You as a man become part of a winning team with your actions. You want the protection of a group, you're going to have to get your ass in on the bottom floor and do it like everybody else. I had to do it. I had to be part of the military industrial complex, part of the police department, so that way I can get the protections of those groups. Nobody told me that. Those are places where I ended up in. Because, see, nobody teaches you how to get power within society here. The power becomes whenever you have your own stuff. And you got to have sense enough not to give it to other people who don't care about what you built. So you have to understand the platinum elites, the sir-isms. Dude, these are people who were doing the same thing 3 years ago that these people are doing now. Acting like they care about black men. Acting like they care about black boys. These PhDs did not commission those studies. Those studies was already done. The Moynihan report was not wrong. It told you what the answer was. Give these men jobs. Now, what the Moynihan report did not account for was the women having control of the community given to them by unproductive men because they were too sorry to get their ass out there and have their own stuff without the women's opinion being a part of the actual paradigm. So these people artificially held themselves back and not been productive so that way the woman can still pick them. That's the history of the space. That's how we got the dating coaches here. That's how the woman's opinion became what men wanted. Yeah, they wanted to be like these 50-year-old Foxtrot Novembers who entered the space full of a bunch of compromised men to offer them the antidote to an unsolvable problem, even though they knew damn well they didn't solve it themselves. Does the name have to be brought up in general? It doesn't. It's a concept. I don't attack people. I attack concepts that do not work. These concepts has never led to any type of success. If I'm seeing 2 generations of very good-looking women in the Mississippi Delta not be chosen by anybody here, but they're being definitely chosen by people from other places who don't know anything about this track record, then it's pretty clear where we're at right now. This is the history of the Black Manosphere. To make sure that unproductive men became the voice of people who are actually doing shit out here. You think a Robert F. Smith would actually want to do business with most of these dudes who talk about these actual issues within the space? You're crazy. You really think you're going to get Procter & Gamble or Home Depot, Lowe's to actually donate money to any of these causes? No. This conversation was meant to be underground. You have to understand that your actions were supposed to be such to where the people who previously benefited off of you were not going to be a part of your future. That's what the answer was. There are many different societies that had treacherous women definitely punished once those men got their productivity up. It didn't care about what they thought. That's what this was about. You can punish people when you have the right to produce outside of their opinion. But what the Black Manosphere wanted you to do was to be fed back into the same environment where you never seen a level of success. You have synthetic street people here. You have synthetic pimps here. You have synthetic all these things here. So if R. Kelly can get any woman that he wants and he ends up in prison, how are all these dudes who got all these women in the past can never answer for their actual issues within the past 20 years if R. Kelly couldn't do it? You see how this stuff doesn't make sense? I want to create a world where no one gives a damn about anybody who has a problem with a woman. No one gives a damn about your child support issues. No one cares about your child support issues. You have child support issues because you're a stupid motherfucker. That's why you got child support issues. And I endorse her taking your dumb ass for everything that she could fucking get. At this point, I want every motherfucker marked who thinks they're going to make this shit work. All of you. I'm pretty sure he's not a guest speaker. But this is where we at, though. A bunch of men who want the protection of the Catholic Church. You know, the protection of the Catholic Church to do with the younger men like the Catholic Church was able to get away with without any question. This is what these dudes wanted. They wanted the same level and kind of protection that those people had during the crack era and during the heroin era. They want to be able to sell this nonsense to people and nobody say nothing to them about it. While they create people that's going to destroy everybody, we're just supposed to be quiet about it. Please. Debunk the stream. If I'm ever wrong, debunk the stream. Play the stream back and tell me point by point where am I wrong at. I don't think these people should be able to exist and survive. That's my opinion. Why? I base it on the track record. I've never seen it happen anywhere else. And I was warned by very good parents about these things. I was warned by very good women about these things. There's probably about 10 women right now in my community that I could put online to tell you that told me, if you end up with my daughter, there is nothing I want to say to you inside of my entire life. Don't mess with her. She had a good upbringing. She chose otherwise. Do not bring your ass around me if you end up inside of this for any reason. This is what I was told when I was 10 years old. Because these women who are now in their 70s, they seen the type of dudes who had access to their daughters. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even trying to protect this any longer. They had a better upbringing and they chose otherwise. Because see, that's the burden of choice. The burden of choice is responsibility. Nobody wants to be more responsible than the environment itself. That's how standards are actually created. Standards are actually created when you have all the answers up front and you make different choices about that. The only people who would be talking about femininity consultants are dumbass fucking men who ain't your friends. There ain't femininity consultants in places that work. Just like they're not ratchet consultants within those places that do work. Femininity consultants is nothing but a way of giving you plausible deniability to do something that you know isn't right, that you know isn't possible. And these women are quote unquote so good that they never find themselves going out to Cynthia G or Shira 7. Never. And these are people who you're supposed to trust. They're not even picked up by the men within the environment itself. You don't ever see them around decent dudes. They're around dumbass men who want to believe in this fan fiction. That's the other counterpart to the guy who believes in game. You drop the link, they never come up. You have them in a conversation, they can't do anything but point to a woman's level of power or choosing ability as the reason why they did what they did. I could be the way I can be because I'm fucking right. If I was wrong, I would hear live streams about what I'm wrong about. I urge you, be as brutal as you could possibly can. Tell me. Tell me. I cannot wait to interact and fight with my counter existence. I can't wait. Because I know this stuff can't be defended on the actual national stage. It can't be. The world doesn't need unproductive men anymore. The world doesn't mean purely baby makers and non-producers anymore. The world cannot fathom having these people around any longer. The creation of these men was by bad policy that people freely interacted with, so that way they can get the most that they could out of the environment where they was. The only reason that you can create an actual school based off black victimhood is because you want people to be professional. You're the professional victim ringleader, while everybody else become the professional victim. Men don't make good victims. It doesn't matter. Men don't make good victims. Even when the issue is 100% against the man's favor, you still don't make a good victim as a man. Think about it. How many news articles have you heard of in Michigan about men who have to pay child support to children that ain't even theirs. There was no policy proposal even done by men at all to change that, even though it has happened in certain places in Tennessee on a one-to-one basis. They want to make sure that nothing changes within the environment. That's the whole point of not politically organizing. The whole point is to become the Lord of the goddamn flies. That's the whole point of this. The whole point of this is so that way they can become the Lord of the flies, and so that way you can be in the garden. That's the point of this. That's why I'm chopping heads off in public if you don't understand what that's about. It's about looking at this entire system and not trying to team up with people who want a new voice because of the system the way it is. That's the point. Everybody want to be the new hangout guy, the hangout guru, the new dude who spreads conspiracy theories and anti-vaccine shit. Nobody wants to be the dudes who point people towards the actual opportunities. And even if you did point them to the opportunities, most people want to be productive enough to net them a Keisha. And then they go through the issues with Keisha, and then they turn around and come to the rest of us for us to be a shoulder to cry on. That's a horrific shoulder to cry on another man. You want these things to change? You got to change it for yourself. Your life is the test case. Your life has always been a test case. No one is going to feel sorry for a person who haven't put productivity first. They're not even trying to hear your mouth. There ain't nobody trying to put a microphone inside your face. There ain't nobody trying to do any of that. Make sure y'all hit the like button. All because you wanted to be popular off our problems, man. That's all it might be. I don't give a damn about your productivity if your productivity is based on spreading falsehoods for the sake of your actual production. I don't understand what the point of a shout out is, stranger XYZ. We don't do that around here. But if you're here for what you need to be here for, nobody asks for those type of things within this environment. Yeah, we're not trying to get noticed off our problems. We're trying to move past our problems itself. We're not like other spaces, man. So what you guys have to understand about this is that most of these people who claiming like they give a damn about the actual outcomes of the men said nothing to the actual people who was the actual producers of those kids in the first place. Those actual men who came to this space who done time for selling drugs inside the community who said that we need to understand the fact that they had to sell poison to us. They came to us, tell us that we don't deserve to speak. We should just reserve our place on the plantation and just shut our mouths. That's what it was. These people came in to do that within a place where we were supposed to come towards things. We were supposed to be those people who allowed these people around us. We were supposed to be those people who didn't have any standards to the simple point so that those people can clearly keep surviving around us while they tried to call us educated lames. There ain't nothing lame about participating in society. There ain't nothing lame about leaving this shit alone. There ain't nothing lame about not bragging like I was the dude chosen to mess up the environment. There ain't nothing lame about that. What's lame is actually participating within this stuff like you didn't know better. That is what's actually what was lame. That is what was lame. What did they do with the money? They put rims on cars, beats and rides to try to attract more and more broken women and have the actual broken men of the actual environment serve all the time for their deeds. That's what these so-called people who was chosen were doing with all this money that they was making in the drug era. They didn't build no schools. They didn't build no community centers. They didn't do any of that stuff. And then they tried to blame the same government that dropped the stuff in the community in the first place as the reason why they had to do that to survive. No, your dumb ass could have went to school like everybody else. You ended up with that bullshit because that's what you wanted to do. It was a choice, a very conscious choice, just like the very conscious choice of locking your ass up for a multitude of years. I don't want to hear from a motherfucker like, oh man, 3 strike lock, man, fuck you. What did you get 3 strikes for? Don't tell me this shit about you had drugs on you or that you robbed some motherfucker and all this kind of dumb shit and that you deserve to be out on the streets with dudes like me. Fuck you. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, that's the history of the space. The space where they wanted fake drug kingpins and actual educated dudes to be one group of men who forgave each other, who turned around and picked the same type of women who had screwed them over. Here's what happened to the Black Manosphere. We didn't put a lockbox on it. This place was never supposed to be a place for child support dudes to come and complain about child support. There was never supposed to be a place about dudes who thought that there was a man because they dealt with custody issues. This was never supposed to be a place by dudes who not still with the same woman and their daughters didn't even pick a productive dude and trying to get that shit off and trying to make sure every man stays until they kid get covered by the men within the environment. That's what happened. Remember when you were a dishwasher? Remember that? It's like the 2/3 policy. That's gonna get rid of 2/3 of dudes who don't want to accept these type of women to turn the rest of the men over into taking care of a whole bunch of kids that ain't yours. Correct. Now they're here to leave all the same problems in Black America in place so that way the PhD grifters can come through and run the same exact play on these young kids that they ran on us in the current generation. If you're a PhD, your ass should be commissioning a study, not telling us about the past that you haven't adjusted to, that you're taking freely advantage of. Yeah, like, oh, MOT's a headache. Yeah, my hatred has basis that you definitely won't jump your ass up on the live stream to explain to me. Because that's the thing about this. It happens behind the scenes, whisper campaign, but they never jump their ass on the live stream to have the conversation in the wide open because they can't do it. There's no way you can have this conversation without acting like a Bravo Alpha November. There's no way you can do it. You have to understand that these things go in 15 to 20-year cycles. The statistics that we're looking at right now are based on actions that happened in today's 2021. So minimum, these decisions happened 15, 16 years ago. We're talking about 2005. We don't even know what the red pill, whatever that means now, have done. It's because this stuff only came 2 or 3 years ago. You don't know because one, you're not teaming up with different people. You see, when you go to different societies, like they have a cultural expectation of the actual people within the environment. We don't have that here. The actual cultural expectation is failure. That's the actual cultural expectation here. Failure. And having your masculinity defined by somebody that you know you're not going to be with long term. Gathering all this information about an unworkable product, and then turning your dumb ass around and engaging with the product anyway, as if you don't know this. I don't have to go around trying to find decent women. It's your job to find me. It's your job to get your ass out here and compete. And if somebody else take your spot, oh well, it's your fault. All these people are on the field, dude. They're on the field for a reason. They're all looking for a dude who's dumb enough to still pick them, but smart enough to take on the entire world. So they're looking for suckers. You can't run a community based on everybody being a parasite. This is why in other cultures, they don't set your ass up to being fed by your productivity. Productivity is the preeminence of every culture for the most part. Most cultures you want to be a part of. Most of these cultures are based on failure now. Most of these cultures are based on celebrating for no damn good reason, even though you haven't accomplished anything. By people who can barely speak English. In the country where they're taught English in school. Nearly every single year that they stayed in school and they don't speak English still. These people are your enemies. And they are here to help the same gynocratic women that they claim that they don't want to be around. Don't believe me? Look at their panels. Where's all these feminine and submissive women who actually understood the concept? My actual ideas, I'm not looking for them. Because as a man, my job is to produce. And if those things are not there for me to engage in, I just move to another environment that has it under control already. It's not my job to stay in an environment and wait on these people to get stuff together. No. The first community that you create is your household. You're never supposed to be on the actual operational field of dating any more than 4 or 5 years. That's how most cultures are set up. If the actual women were worth choosing, you would already had one by 25. They're waiting on you to settle for them by the time you hit 30 or 35. Why? You got starved out. You believe in this concept far more than they do. That's how you end up there. The Black Manosphere was never a place for productive men to do shit. Productive men had to try to come wrestle the conversation away from unproductive people. That's what the history is. That's what the history is at. That's what the history is. When I was there, I thought like, oh man, they get it. Are we gonna move to a different group of people? Are we gonna do different actions? No, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to feed men right back to their baseline desires. Because that's what your friends do. Your friends hide the answer from you, and your friends turn around and feed you back to the same people that they've never been successful at or with. Because that's what your friends do. Yeah, you got to recognize this, man. This stuff is a pattern, and the pattern has never changed. Pattern never changed. Because the solution to the problem is having your ass run headfirst into these problems. I challenge you. Go over to them and ask them what their answer is to these questions and see if they have an answer for you. They're not going to have an answer for you. The answer is for you to do exactly what this is. Oh, thanks for the Cash App, Builder, Bonker, $20 for the content. Yeah, thanks. Me, it's very simple. I want you to get past these problems and enjoy life. Everything in my life happened the moment I started putting productivity first. Not a counterpart's opinions, but productivity first. And every time I ran into a man, or what is considered a man within this environment, the moment they're cornered, the first thing they do is tell me about the counterpart letting them feel like a man because they had access. They wanted to feel like a man. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so how long have you been repeating this same process if the process worked within the environment itself? You see, no one wants to talk about that side of the issue. If it's the correct solution, how many times do you have to present the correct solution to people? It shouldn't be that hard. You see, they want the opinion, the woman's opinion to matter so much to where you don't even think about productivity. That's the basis of the manosphere itself. That's why the women were invited back into the manosphere when 2.0 came around. Why? They wanted to gaslight. They wanted to re-traumatize. They wanted to re-victimize the same people with the same goddamn product that they never made it past in the first place. And those are medical terms. I suggest you look them up so that way you can see what you think your PhDs feel about these actual problems. Yes, you're always going to be the enemy of actual productive men. You always are actually going to be separate from that. And no, nobody is going to want to team with you but other hucksters, frauds, and clowns. That's why you see all of the men who are never supposed to be taken seriously within society off in the same places. They're attracted to the same stuff. They're attracted to the same thing. They're attracted to the conversation, even though they know the solutions. Actually, Lana Judah, 44. I actually think women being here is the best thing that actually happened to the manosphere. I think it's the best thing. I think it's one of the best things that has ever happened within the manosphere. It's actually women being here. Because if you were never going to get your stuff together without them being here, what the hell would make you think you're going to get your stuff together with them being here? I don't care who you give your money to. That's just the way it is. I'm glad that they're here. I'm glad that they're here. I'm glad that they're pulling these whole cards of these dudes. I'm glad that they're talking about submission and these dudes jumping up on panels and shit, unproductive, still waiting for this stuff. You see, a lot of people want the women gone. So that way you can see the people who never wanted to take any actions without the woman's opinion. They wanted the plausible deniability of women not being around so that way they can hide their true intentions. This is why men wanted those women gone from the environment itself. Unless the women were all on quote unquote their panel, then they're okay with it. But to me, the existence of women or not, it doesn't change the focus of my channel. Because some of these women have sons too, nephews too, cousins too, that they need to correct. That they don't know how to get the answer. This motherfucker here. But that's what we are currently. That's the history of the space, man. There aren't PhDs who are jumping up here who's trying to help you move to a better place. They're trying to feed you back into the same shit. I mean, the Black Manosphere came up with the actual term called female nature. You had a 50-year-old guy talking about how men couldn't handle the sexual nature of an actual woman. Within the space. Men are not supposed to be able to handle treachery from anybody. Men are never supposed to feel good about that from anybody. But the Black Manosphere was a space that tried to help treacherous actions be normalized. What's going on, Ike? What's going on, Goshen? Yes, they wanted those treacherous actions from those counterparts to be normalized. The Black Manosphere was pushing that from 50-year-old dudes. The 50-year-old dudes were trying to feed you back into your baseline desires. Nobody tried to hold those people to no type of ability and account, but they definitely tried to hold me to a level of standard. Oh man, you should just let them sit. Why? You don't need to draw legs on a snake. It's already dangerous enough without legs. People are trying to tell you how unproven social science skills work. People are just trying to tell you, hey man, don't question it. And then when you ask for proof, nobody wants proof of the issue. That's what it was. There was no white supremacists doing this. It was men who was doing this. It was men who was doing this. Why? They couldn't survive in a society where all men decided to drop this stuff, leave it alone, and get their shit together. Those are the men who are stuck with this relationship conversation. You got dudes in their 50s still jumping on panels talking about submissive women. You're not even on the field anymore. There are two separate sides of the conversation within the Black Manosphere. The first one is the cleanup man. No matter how you look at it, no matter how you slice it, no matter if you call yourself a fucking Itmore, it don't matter. If your idea is to find somebody who's uncultured and trying to repatriate them into a submissive person, you're the problem. I don't give a shit if you're an Itmore. I still think you're a dumb motherfucker. That's one person. The second person is the person who think they got this wild and unbridled masculine precept that they got to show every type of non-disciplined activity to every sexual choice that come their way. The biological impairment crowd. They're your enemies too. If you simply cannot exercise a level of discipline, basic discipline around these people, then you deserve to be the victim of everything that they have. I want you to be more victims. Why? I want to see every single man who is not ready to move forward. Thanks for the $100 super chat, Ocean. Let me tell you about the third group of people. The third group of people are the people who haven't taken a side, but they want all this change, but you haven't taken a side. The same people have sports teams You understand a sports team. If you ask a man what sports team he like, it doesn't matter what the actual sport is. They have a side chosen. They know, hey man, I'm a Cowboys fan. Hey man, I'm a Patriots fan. Hey man, I'm a 49er fan. Hey man, I'm a Steelers fan. He chose a side. You understand how sides work when it comes to actually doing stuff? Nothing happens. Let me tell you, dude, the fourth group of people. And the fourth group of people have people on the left and it has people on the right. But they provide the same level of problems for all group of people that's left. The first group of people is black conservatives who don't talk policy talk. What's going on, Progressive Brother Podcast? Very good podcast. If everybody's, make sure you subscribe to this channel. The second group of people is the people who are obviously on the left. I'm talking about people who care about the actual opinions of liberal women, people who call themselves part of the community still. Those are the people that's on the left, who are not going to organize on the left, who are not going to talk about policy issues on the left. And let me tell you what both sides of the coin when it comes to men do. Both of these groups of people want to benefit from a system that they have not invested in. You want to benefit without investment. And then you have the nerve to turn your dumb ass around and complaining about gays and, oh, look at these Afghans and what about these Latinos? When the only thing they've done was take advantage of the same type of society functions that you could have, but you expected it without the work. You wanted to play the middle. You can't play the middle in something like this. You can play the middle when you got both sides covered, but if you're not actually worried about the outcomes and you're still trying to worry about, oh man, well, you know what? The women run the community. Then fuck that community. Build your own. That community has nothing to do with the fact that you're not on the stuff that you need to be doing. They built the community because they didn't need your help. That's my next one. Number 5. The men who provide comfort for the women. I'm talking about the game dudes. I'm talking about the dating coaches. I'm talking about the book authors. I'm talking about these synthetic street dudes. I'm talking about former pimps. I'm talking about all this kind of stuff. It has nothing to do with our progress. I'm talking about the people who deliberately spread misinformation. I'm talking about the fake ass dudes who claim they're SYSBM, but they got their mouth open about the goddamn community every 5 minutes. You can't team up with people like this. Everybody sees what to avoid by looking at us. There's another group of people. It's the people who keep jumping up on women's panels, talking to them about submission and shit. I love this shit. I love seeing the dudes who you shouldn't be taking seriously. Because it's quite honest and it's quite clear that none of these men actually talk to women in real life. Because if they did, they wouldn't look at jumping on the panel and talking to women about endless bullshit without action as something special. But this is the history of the Black Manosphere. And you have to understand that 3 years ago, this was the conversation of the Black Manosphere. It was. I have to split off and do my own thing because I have to show them that, you know what, actual productive people don't want to team with these people. That's what my movement was always about. That's what my channel was always about. It's trying to regather and refocus people on things that they need to be focused on. But see, people wanted the actual hustlers contract in place, which is thou shalt not criticize another huckster within the space that you all trying to grift off of. Yes. Yeah, people going live 4 and 5 times a day, gaslighting their own people without providing solutions to problems. But let me tell you something specific about this fake ass conservative and this fake ass liberal. Because they both provide the same problem, they just do it a different way. The fake conservative who cannot talk about policy to save their life are always on the troll to left shit. Every time you look around, they talk about black culture. They talk about, well, they try to hide the flaws of women. That's another thing. You have to understand that most of these black conservatives only talk about trolling the left to hide the simple fact that they're not organizing on the right. They're not organizing on the right. They're not organizing on the right. Remember, they're conservatives. They can't tell you what they're conserving, but they're on the right, but they're not organizing on the right. They're not organizing on the right. They can only tell you about what the left is doing, not what they're organizing on the right. They can't do it. And the only thing that they do is try to troll you over things that the women are doing, which I don't think matters at this point. I don't think the conversation that women is going to lead anywhere. Because I think only women can fix women at this point. I don't think men can fix women. Women can only fix women. You know how you don't get to be one of these people who are still on the market? You close early. You have a target in mind and you close early. If you have a target in mind and you close early, there's no excuse for your ass to be on the field. There's no excuse for turning your ass into a femininity consultant. There's no excuse for any of that. Those are the people that's supposedly on the right. Now, the people on the left are, and they provide the same problem. Pro-blacks, fake pro-blacks that don't even live in the country, fake pro-blacks that live in England and shit, which is fine. However, if you have the same predisposition on accepting the same uncultured person, then you don't deserve any type of remorse. Like, if you know all of these things and you still haven't made a different choice, dude, ain't nobody gonna feel any sympathy for you. They can't feel any sympathy for you. And then expecting the same government that you don't participate in to get your woman right, to make your woman submissive, to take away her choices in abortion so that way she can behave properly. What's going on, Boomer? You want everything from the same government that you don't participate in. Those are the people on the left. The people on the left who keep pretending like there is this untapped potential of untapped women that are out there. It's your job to provide them to us. It's not our job to go out there and search through every needle in a haystack to find them. These are the people on the left. They're on the left. You know they're on the left. The people who ask people about what's the status of reparations when they don't even participate in politics themselves. And then you turn around and you see them on helmet panels. It's like, what is this? That's the history of the space. The history of the space is unproductive men trying to get live off of our problems. They wanted to be mainstream within an actual sliver of America. They didn't want to be mainstream to solve problems. They wanted to be mainstream amongst a very subsegment of people where this bullshit works. Because once you go out to the real world, ain't nobody gonna want to hear your issues about the woman that your woman that you consider yours. Don't nobody want to hear that shit. They're gonna ask you about the world's problems because that's where they're at. But that's what we are. You can't ask these people what live stream led to what actions that you listen to. And you have the nerve to say, oh man, well, it's just for entertainment. I don't know, man. That shit ain't entertainment. It looked really like a pretty much a predetermined destination. Predetermined destinations are not entertainment. Predetermined destinations are failure points. Oh, MOTA, man, you too serious, man. Man, when do you have fun? Like, bro, life is fun once you got your shit together. You can do whatever you want to. Think about it. You as a man have a hell of a lot more time on your hands, sir. You know how you get your time back? Take the woman off the table. You know how you get your time back? Stop making every single purchase that you make in society based on pleasing women who don't give a shit about you. You want your time back? Focus on your productivity. 2, 3 years, you have a whole lifetime of benefits from that. And the fourth thing, move on to other women who are already ready to go. And you place those women in the same configurations that the current environment cannot hold up to. And then you leave them alone. Because there's two types of men also who are here within the space, within the subsegment of groups that I created. There is the let it burn crowd, and then there is the watch it burn crowd. The let it burn crowd don't give a shit. They've already got this shit together. They don't even care. But the watch it burn crowd, they're not trying to progress at all until they see these people submit or until they see them destroyed. Those men are incredibly dangerous to any type of group because they're not trying to take any type of action. The only thing they want to do is they want to see the destruction happen so that way they can benefit off of it one way or another. That's why I never took the watch it burn crowd very seriously. I don't care about whether things burn or not. If you're not part of my household, you don't get my protection. I don't worry about trying to protect people who's not part of my space. I had to worry about it when I was a police officer because I was a public servant. At that time, I was a public servant. When I was in the military, I was a public servant. I had to give a damn when I was called to show up to an actual event that I didn't know what the hell was going on, and I had to provide a solution. That's when I had to give a damn. But now that I'm not a public servant, hey, you pick your protectors. I don't worry about submission or protection. I don't worry about things like that. Those are things that are automatic on an actual situation that actually works. It's almost like going up to a toilet and not understanding where the handle is to actually flush it. I thought all toilets come with handles. If I have to look for a handle on this goddamn toilet, then it's probably not a toilet, even though it looks like one. That's how you have to look at these situations within the environment, man. It's either it works or it don't. And if it don't work, I'm going to find the actual idea of how stuff do works, and I'm just going to move there. And I'm not going to worry about things that don't work. Mechanics don't go to a highway looking at all the cars that are actually functioning on the highway. What the hell do they look like going up to a highway, putting out a lawn chair, looking at all the cars passing by that's not coming to a shop that don't have problems. What's going on, Tony? A mechanic is only worried about the cars that don't work. That's what they're there to fix, shit that don't work. Because that's the business that he went into. But if he went into the business of cars that don't work, but he's obsessed with the cars that do work and not fixing the cars that don't work, you have to ask this person, why don't you become a mechanic if you can't fix shit? That's what you have. You have a bunch of bad mechanics within the manosphere. A bunch of bad mechanics who offer no solutions to any type of problems. I disagree with a lot of what this dude said, but that's very, very key and very clear. If you got men with no purpose, and I'm not talking about the purpose as in the manosphere shit, because the purpose leads you back to dealing with uncultured women as the actual success rate of your masculinity. I'm talking about your true purpose is to find happiness for yourself, not for a family that you didn't create, but for yourself. That's the purpose of your ass being here. But for some reason, you have to waste all this time on things that you had no idea of creating. This is why a dude who's 18 or 19 years old or 20 or 30 something years old, if you don't have any kids, shut the hell up about community. You haven't created your own community yet. Your household is your community. Your track record is your community. That's the side that you picked. That's the protection that you wanted. The career field that you went into. That's your community. That's how it worked when I was in the military, part of the police force, and other things. That was my community, the community that I was invested in and responsible for. You can't be responsible for a community like something that's here. You can't think about things like that. Why do you think most of the people is only trying to regain their high school popularity with the YouTube space? That's almost like me, where I am today, trying to go back to basic training in the Air Force. I look like a damn fool trying to go through that shit. But a lot of people want to concentrate on particular situations because they cannot add value to the group. The only value that they can add to the group is concentrating on problems that they're not trying to solve. Hey, once your ass start being accomplished, and once you have accomplishments within that actual field, hey man, your ego can be big as you want to. Black America is the only place where you can have ego without accomplishment. The only place where you can have ego without success. The only place where you can have entitlement without a road to get to actual productivity. The only place where you can talk about problems and not solve them. The only place where you could be all of those things without providing anything for it. But that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. A lot of people are stuck, man, mentally. And they only feel better within America if everybody else is stuck with them. Everybody ain't stuck with them. Everybody's not stuck trying to make a woman be a woman. Everybody's not stuck. That's not what everybody's thinking about. This is a very small conversation within a small group of people. This is why the people who are in charge are in charge. They're not trying to move you nowhere. Hey, productivity is every racist's responsibility. If you got room to complain about Latinos and Afghans, bro, let me see your last 5 tax returns. Because if you're complaining about the people who are just coming here and somehow the threat of them being around is going to hold you from job opportunities, what job opportunities that you think they're going to have that you don't want? The business cycle is going to keep going, folks. The business cycle don't give a damn about unproductive men. Like, this is something that people do not understand. The business cycle do not give a shit about unproductive men. The business cycle is going to keep going with people who are ready, with people who are skilled. And if your ass is not smart enough to understand that you need to move toward those skills and abilities, rather than the opinion of women and whether or not they're submissive before you do the shit you need to do as a man, your ass is going to be stuck. Those are the two sides here. Every single time you hear one of these dumbass conversations go on, you're asking, what's the point of this? You already know that spent women are not, at this point, worth being around. What's the point of talking about them endlessly? I understand it. This is why I don't talk about them that much. I talk about them because the focus is on them rather than the shit that men need to be doing. And you being productive or you bringing a lot of money to the table is not going to put a woman in a feminine space. If she reads dick before she actually exhibit any type of standard within society and environment, you're not going to get a 1 out of 10 to respect men if she's able to get endless amounts of attention. Because we know the type of women that y'all got pregnant, right? We know the type of women that y'all owe child support to, right? We know these are not 8, 9s, and 10s. They're 1, 2s, and 3s. And if they're not 1, 2, and 3 acting, they're 1, 2, and 3 looking. Regardless, you still had another position to take, but you didn't take it. That's what it is. That's the history of the manosphere. The history of the manosphere was to make weak men the face of us, so everybody can be involved. There's a lot of weak ass men within this place, man. A lot of them. A lot of men that you can't put nowhere near or around opportunity because they have this 304 logic inside their head that they have to take every single opportunity and don't give a damn about the results. They don't understand the responsibilities of a group because they've never been a responsibility of it. They're too self-interested to be a part of a group. This is why they want all these huckster ass dudes around here. Why? Because they don't have any type of productivity themselves. They want as many people here so that way they can take parts of your story and try to look competent. You want to look competent? When you could just simply be competent, go after a field, actually be involved in it? You just want to be competent? You want to produce enough money, Joe, so that way you can attract the type of problems that you don't need within your life that to really stop you from being productive? Right now, I'm at home right now. There was dudes who thought there was the man back in the day. Got a chick pregnant, destroyed their actual ability to produce as a man. Thank you for the $10 super city, Justin Mark. Yeah, destroyed their ability to produce as a man. Hold on a second. Here's what I like about racism. Dude, if you got your shit together, man, racism is only an institutional issue. I don't give a fuck about individual people being racist. Fuck that. Like, you're supposed to be losing for some period of time if you don't have your productivity that matches other people within this environment. Because the white manosphere is no different than the black manosphere. You have divorce rapies, child support motherfuckers, divorcees, wannabe players, lifetime consultants. Did you have all that shit over there? You have all that stuff over there. And what you don't have over there is you don't have a level of men who's trying to raise up to actually take the space back. You have a bunch of grifters over there doing the same goofy ass shit too. You have the same people that you have in the black manosphere, the same exact people. Because it's a hierarchical effect, Jr. So you have at the top manosphere. Then you have a subsegment, which is white, black, Latino, blah, 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 blah. But see, all the men at the top have all the same problems as the men that goes into the subsegment. So if the subsegments of men can't come together as men, then nothing works. It doesn't matter whether you're Asian, Latino, black, or white. It doesn't matter about your individual race as a component if you can get your productivity taken. Sorry about that. It's room service. All right. Yeah, so that's where we're at. I don't even care about that. Because you know what? I ran into similar things when I first got into the transportation industry. I ran into the same thing when I was in the transportation industry. You want to know how? There's people who told me that I shouldn't own the truck. Those people who told me that the industry was going bad. Those people who told me that the industry was going in XYZ direction. The industry. Then I started doing my own research about the actual industry that I was in. And you know what I found out? Those people were full of shit. They were just stuck where they were stuck at within the same industry. They were stuck making a $800 to $1,200 a week, and that's where the hell they've been for the last 20 some years. That's why I don't pay attention to people within the transportation industry. If your ass has been in the transportation industry over 5 years, I have nothing to talk to you about. I don't want to hear about brand new trucks and shit. That doesn't mean anything to me. But once I known how to climb up the ladder within the actual system that I was in, those people' opinion didn't even matter. And you want to know what? It was the same when I went into the military. It was the same when I was part of the police force. The same shit. The same individuals who want to tell you that things ain't working right, so give up hope and don't do shit. I'm like, hold on a second. If I gave up hope and don't do shit, how'd you get your position? You definitely didn't give up hope to just stay in the position that you are in, and you're ahead of me. No, it don't work that way. Yeah. That's what it's about. Winning. And guess what? A lot of people have to go a hell of a lot further from where they started at to win. I had to. I went to San Antonio, to Dallas, to Europe, to Asia, and all this other stuff before I even know what winning was like. Before I even turned 21 years old. Why? Still had the burden of productivity. Didn't matter where I went. Still had the burden of productivity. You still had to compete. So I'll check it for you. No, you still had, the firing range. You still had marksmanship. You still had PT goals. You still had performance reports. You still had all of that stuff no matter where you went and where you was part of. Yes, you still have to compete everywhere you go. Winning is an individual responsibility. Now, once you win, you can pass it down, but you can't expect for winning to be passed down when you know the prior generation didn't pass shit down. And I'm not saying that that's their responsibility for you not to be producing in life for them to pass shit down. You're supposed to be out here winning. What's going on, man? Yeah, it was an individual responsibility to win. Individual responsibility, not group expectation. It was individual. But according to some people, the industry on the downfall. That's what I'm saying. You got to invest the right way in order to get the right things out of it. Some people use the existence of possibly in the future of there being automated trucks as the reason why they didn't get into transportation in any shape, form, or fashion. Even after I answered this question a dozen times about, bro, listen, anybody can do things when things are right. You put the least amount of precipitation on that road, the whole paradigm changes for trucking. Don't believe me? Look at all these accidents that you see on the road. We don't even have clear cell phone service around the United States, but people are worried about automated trucking. That's what some people's mind are. They're invested just enough into a situation to where they can just disconnect from the actual situation itself. No, that's not how it works. Like I said, man, winning today is very easy. You have to choose to lose nowadays. You have to choose to lose. You chose to lose. You chose to wait. When you have this conversation about submission, you chose to show up to that shit. You chose that. You chose to listen to it. You chose it. Choosing come with the responsibility, man. That's another thing that's about the history of the manosphere. People want to be felt and they didn't want to take any action. They wanted to change to happen without taking any action. Dude, that's not how nothing works in society in America. What's going on, Sean H? This is the history of the manosphere. The history of the manosphere is about waiting for women to get their shit together before they put any foot toward any action. That's the history of the manosphere. Yeah, and I can say as a group that I'm a part of, we failed as a group because that was the actual focus of everybody here. I can say we failed as a group, but I can also say I've taken individual action to make sure this shit don't affect me individually. It's all going to come down to individual action at some point. I just don't want your ass being in too far of a corner or too far behind or lost too much hope before you start taking those type of damn actions for yourself. That's the history. The history was not about productive men. The history was about getting the world to understand black man's issues. No, nobody give a fuck about issues about a woman that you chose to be with. That's almost trying to get the world to understand your issues as a person, even though you chose to deal with a drug that you know that didn't do you any good. I mean, but most conservatives are just simply trolling about racism. They're pretty happy with the way the situation is. Both men on the left and right are happy about the simple fact that they don't have to participate within the society because they're getting everything out of the society without things changing. That's why most non-policy conservatives are trolling about the racism issue. What's going on, Elon? So it's like this, which doesn't make any sense, by the way, because they become a victim of the same type of thing that they're trolling people over. I tried to tell people a long time ago. Yo, what's going on, Sutter? What's going on, Big J Triple X? But this is where we're at. Um, and people get their wake up call. I got my wake up call. I thought I was a conservative. Yeah, I thought I was conservative. Listening to all that AM talk radio shit, when I was overseas in Germany and Italy, because One Versus Network, you had Rush Limbaugh going, you had the Michael Savage shit, you had no pushback of any kind. I thought I was a conservative too. Until I brought my ass back to the United States, and then we had the 2000 election. That's when the blinders fell off. And I had to realize, and I had to hey man, this whole damn thing was a mistake. Just because where I worked at. I work with the military industrial complex. So naturally, you're going to be conservative by nature because, it's okay to spend money on the military. It's just not okay to spend money on anything else. I had to come to grips with that. I had to come to grips with that, man. And then I had to go learn the history. Because once I learned the history and I understood the history, I could never have anybody bullshit me about the history of the American society or system. I couldn't do it. I couldn't allow anybody to come along and misstate history because they're taking advantage of people when they're misstating history. But some versions of success I don't want. I don't want that version of success where I get to see everybody else fail. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. But if you're going to use your success to try to help some of these people out who don't need help, then yes, I want you to fail. That's what it is. I mean, the history of the space just wasn't about productive people, man. The history of the space was about making sure that it's okay to choose bad women. It's okay to do all this stuff. It's okay because everybody's a bad person. Don't worry, they all bad. So therefore, just go pick you one and get on the field. This is what the level of success that was actually told by older men to other men within the environment. There was massaging slowly inside the head that it was okay to pick toxic women, man. That's what it was. It's okay to pick toxic women. The only thing you have to do is learn these things from these people, and it's not that much of a problem anymore. That's what it was. That's the history of the space. People didn't come here to organize. People came here to hang out. People came here to be felt. This place was not about taking action. And this is not a bad message. I'm just telling you the truth about what's going on around here. Because there's a lot of people who are winning based off the fact that our group is not moving anywhere. I'm talking about as men in general, but I'm talking about as black men in specific. And holding their productivity back and behind so that way they could be 3 or 4 bait. They wanted to be bait for these women. That's what they wanted. The Manosphere was the bait car, trying to attract people who wanted to come and try to rob the car, who tried to rob the women of their actual quick access to sex. That's what the Manosphere was, a bait car. A bait car of people who made excuses on behalf of women. Yeah, straight shooter. Thank you for the 499 super chat. Yeah, man. I thought I was one, man. I thought I was a conservative. I listened to the Rush Limbaugh. I listened to that shit. But after the 2000 election, and I seen what they did in that county, and how nobody really gave a shit about it, I didn't know what I didn't know what to think about it, man. And that was before the Iraq War and the flying veterans. Well, not veterans at the time, but people home on night flights, so that way they wouldn't have to see the actual wounded troops. All that kind of stuff, man. Like it really made me question a lot of stuff, man. It really made me question a lot of stuff. Yeah, I can admit I was wrong. Shit, I wanted to grow, man. I wanted to understand how this thing works so that way I can get the most out of it. That's what I wanted. I don't want to be complaining about the same shit forever, man. I wanted to see a way out, and I wanted to take it. Man, I just left Mississippi. What the hell I look like trying to go to another environment where I have 200 years of failure? I don't want to deal with that shit. Yeah, that's why, when I went to TAPS, the Transitional Assistance Program, nothing happened to our children. Nothing happened. Yeah, it's just that's when I had to see that I wasn't worth anything to anybody because I didn't have any skills. And then that's when I had to turn around and go get those skills. I had to turn around and stop being so much of a part of a group that I forgot about my individual responsibility as a person to win. Yeah, the military industrial complex is winning all the damn time, every time. But was I winning individually? Not at first. It took a while to get the productivity piece right. But I had the mind state for a while. And that's what most people don't understand is that you can have the mind state for success for a very long ass time, but you are not going to capitalize on it as quick as you gain the mindset. I had to have the mindset for a while because the mindset kept you out of problems. It kept you out of trouble. The same problems that they're trying to escort your ass back into. Most of these manosphere dudes, they don't give a shit about that. But I care about not seeing these broken ass kids when I go to these hotels here in the South. Kids up playing till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Where the fuck is this dude's mother at? Yeah, same kid. Because I said the same hotel every time I come down to Mississippi. Same hotel. I'm not sure who's paying for it or how it's getting paid for, but that's what it is. And that guy's potentially going to look at his moral high in society as appealing to the same type of woman who would never show him any type of love and any sort of progress within their life as the highest point of their masculinity. Yeah. It has to be something that has to be said out loud. Because if you don't, then you become a plague carrier yourself when you don't point this stuff out. Oh man, of course it is out of control, man. It lives out of control. Man, we failed at 9/11 and doubled the defense budget. We couldn't stop a terrorist attack even if we wanted to. But that's what it is, man. That's the history of the manosphere. And the history of the manosphere is a history of Black America. It's the same. We want to forego the productivity piece. We want to sit in a pew called the New Black Church, and we wanted to feel good about our actual failures as men. And then we didn't want to make any type of move toward doing anything else in society about it. This is the only place where you can be a leader without responsibility. You really got to stop thinking that life works that way, man. Because if you don't watch yourself, man, tons of years to go by, you get lapped by everybody else in society because you thought that you was going to be part of a better group without any type of effort. I had to go to those groups. Most of those things, I had no idea about where those things are going to go. Yeah, man, we don't do lectures around here, bro. We take action after this shit's over with. Nah, this ain't what you think it is, man. But thanks for coming through. You can unsubscribe now. You have a reason to unsubscribe now. So that's where we're at. I want to thank everybody for coming through. I want to make sure everybody liked the video before they actually leave. In Colorado, I think they make like $115 an hour now. They used to make like $75 or $80 an hour in the 90s. But yeah, they're up to 115 now. But that's a hard ass job, man. I've seen them dudes doing that shit on base, and that shit is not easy. So I want you guys to understand that. Look, man, just like I told the Gone 11, man, keep your tolerance low. What's going on, Red Pill Finance? Keep your tolerance low. Keep your disdain high, and always question everything that you're a part of. Because the information that you listen to better lead toward a result. And if it doesn't lead toward a result that you understand, then somebody's playing you for a fool. I don't want you wasting your time, man. We're wasting enough time on these issues that we have no intentions on trying to solve. You don't need a woman to feel like a man, dude. You don't need a woman to feel like a man. Your accomplishments make you a man. Codependent masculinity was never going to solve men's issues. Codependent masculinity never solved any man's issue. It escorted you into issues that you don't need. And teaching you to be codependent and stagnant and to feel good about it is how these people are trying to move you forward. Society is not ran. What's going on, Trevor? Society is not ran by stagnant men. I mean, you can be stagnant once your ass is rich. Once you got people who are working on your behalf, once you got people who are doing all that shit for you, yeah, you can rest on your laurels. But if your ass ain't up there as a person and you know where you stand, no one has to really come out and do anything for you or show you where you stand. Productivity is important. It's the most important thing that you have in your society and life. Don't waste your chance not engaging in it. It's not going to have you end up being anywhere other than being an actual victim of circumstances that you can actually avoid. So with that said, I want to thank everybody who super chat and like the stream as you come through. And you guys have a really nice day.